What is up, guys? It's your boy, that's a grenade launcher shooting Cactus, and today we are going to be showcasing a weapon that is getting a ton of hype and attention right now, and frankly, it's deserved, and that is the Undercurrent Grenade Launcher. This is a brand new Nightfall weapon added to Destiny 2 within Season of the Wish. It has just become available to acquire this week at the time I'm making this video, and importantly, it's also the week that Grandmaster Nightfalls have launched, so that means you can actually get the Adept version of this thing, and it is double Nightfall rewards right now. So it is a fantastic opportunity to go in there and try to get the Undercurrent God roll. If you want to beat this week's Grandmaster, I did do a guide on that. Absolutely check that out. Even if you can beat it once, it's gonna be worth it. Now, why is the Undercurrent getting just so much hype right now? Why are people so interested in this weapon? Well, it's because it directly competes with, and in many ways surpasses, one of the best weapons in Destiny 2 history. Like, when we're talking about top 10 weapons in the game right now for PvE, this weapon is going to make a lot of people's lists, and frankly, I could see an argument that it's actually number one, especially when it comes to ad clearing. It's the Forbearance Legendary Grenade Launcher. Now, this does come from the Vow of the Disciple raid, so being a raid weapon, it is craftable, which means it can get enhanced perks, but for a lot of people, it is going to be pretty hard to acquire. So, the Forbearance and the Undercurrent are both arc wave frame grenade launchers, and the Forbearance can get the just disgusting PvE role of, first of all, Ambitious Assassin to actually get you 2 rounds in the magazine often after, getting just like basically 1 kill, combined with chain reaction. So the enemies you are killing are exploding, killing even more enemies, and it also has the Soul Drinker origin trait, which will heal you after reloading. With a grenade launcher, you are doing nothing but shooting, reloading, shooting, reloading. Okay, so again, the Forbearance is just an incredible weapon. We all know how good that thing is. So how does the Undercurrent even possibly hope to compete with that? Well, it's because the Undercurrent can actually get Volt Shot, and the Forbearance cannot. In fact, Volt Shot wasn't even around when the Forbearance first came out, and Volt Shot is one of the best PvE perks in the entire game. It is incredible, where reloading after a kill will allow the weapon to jolt targets on its next hit. So the big question is Volt Shot on the Undercurrent actually better than Chain Reaction on the Forbearance? Well, in terms of ease of activation, you have to give that to the Forbearance. Chain Reaction is just going to work automatically when you get a kill, whereas with Volt Shot, you do need to get a kill and then reload to start jolting. Now, once you start jolting targets, it's pretty much impossible to not get kills. We'll talk about that in a sec, but if you are fighting more powerful enemies, it can be difficult to get that first initial kill to start the Volt Shot train. But with that being said, if you're fighting more powerful enemies with the Forbearance, you're not even going to get those chain reaction explosions until you finally do whittle down that yellow bar, for example. So again, advantages and disadvantages both ways. In terms of ad clearing, man, they're close. Like, you can see in the background gameplay, when you get those chain reaction kills, they really do kill more guys, which kill more guys. They can really pop off and let one shot decimate everything on your screen pretty much. But the same thing can be said for Volt Shot, really. In fact, I would give the range advantage to Volt Shot. You can see in the background gameplay, often that jolt chain will hit an enemy that is like nowhere near where you shot. It's like, 10 feet, 15 feet off in the distance, the poor dreg sitting there, and suddenly it's dead. Whereas chain reaction, enemies do need to be a little bit more clumped together for that to work. Now, another big advantage of Volt Shot actually is going to be against more powerful enemies. Remember, when an enemy is jolted, they're not just going to take that big chunk of damage and chain between nearby enemies, but actually hitting jolted targets is going to do more damage. Enemies under jolt take more damage. In fact, because of that, jolting targets has become like a strategy within raid boss DPS, for example. You'll often have a hunter using Gathering Storm, not just because it does great damage for itself, but also because it will jolt that target so that the rest of your teammates will do even more damage. So a jolt against a powerful enemy is very, very useful. And because of that, I think you could make the argument that the Undercurrent with Volt Shot might scale better into endgame content, because if you shoot a Volt Shot round into a group of yellow bars, even if you don't kill them, applying that jolt effect is very, very useful for when you switch to another weapon or your teammates get in there with damage or whatever. Whereas if you shoot a Forbearance into a group of yellow bars and none of them die, it just kind of doesn't do anything, right? You need to have those lower level enemies to start exploding on death for it to really come into its own. But if you are talking about, just pure clearing out red bars, you're going to probably switch further back onto the Forbearance, because when it does chain off, it's truly absurd. And you could say that shooting a couple of shots of the Forbearance and then getting those kills and starting the chain is going to be better than trying to get that initial kill with the Undercurrent, having to reload, then getting the Volt Shot kill. Again, it really kind of goes back and forth. But frankly, because it goes back and forth, guys, because, I don't think you can say definitively one or the other 100%, that shows how powerful the Undercurrent here. Guys, we're not comparing it to some random weapon. We are comparing the Undercurrent to literally one of the best weapons in the entire game for PvE, the Forbearance. And the fact that the Undercurrent has advantages over it, that is so powerful. Now, when we talk about the second perk, because the Undercurrent, I think, it can get some other really good perks in that right column. For example, it can get One for All, it can get Bait and Switch. That's going to do a ton of damage, but Volt Shot is gonna just be the thing that really makes it unique here, and really, I think is going to be what you want to go for. As for the first column, I have Lead from Gold here. Very good perk, especially in endgame content. If I'm using the Undercurrent in something like a Grandmaster, I frankly want to have Lead from Gold just because of how much ammo generation you're doing with stuff like the Cenotaph Mask, like the Aeon Gauntlets, right? You're actually spawning a lot of heavy, and so having Lead from Gold is so good for having an outrageous amount of ammo. And frankly, Lead from Gold is a bit of a cheat code for Gambit too, because it's going to trigger off all those heavy ammo boxes. But aside from that, guys, you can also actually get what I was lucky enough to also get here, Stats for All, which is a very easy way to increase the reload. One shot will trigger Stats for All, trust me. But it can also get Eddy Current to improve the reload, but really, the things that you should be looking for aside from Lead from Gold are firstly Ambitious Assassin. So just like the Forbearance, the Undercurrent can get Ambitious Assassin. And even though it might not pair perfectly with Volt Shot, just having those two shots makes it so much easier to get that initial kill and start that Volt Shot train. And like, what's wrong with going, get a kill, reload, shoot with triggering Volt Shot, and then just shoot again to finish off any stragglers, and then reload, and then your next magazine is going to start with a jolt. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And also, it can even get Demolitionist if you want to go the ability generation route. Oh my goodness, you're going to basically get half of your grenade back by shooting one Undercurrent Volt shot, right? Like, you're just going to kill 5-6 enemies no problem with a single shot and get a huge chunk of grenade energy. But it can also, if you want, get field prep for just more consistent ammo and an increase to reload if you crouch. So very good perks in that first column. You combine almost any of them with Volt Shot and you're good to go. Now, another advantage that the Undercurrent has is the fact that it is adept. And this is an advantage and disadvantage. It's a disadvantage because, of course, the Forbearance is craftable, it can get enhanced perks, but that the Undercurrent Adept version can put on Adept mods, so you can get access to Big One spec, for example, which is fantastic. But then, funny enough, another area where these weapons are extremely similar but also amazing is their origin traits, right? Again, the Forbearance origin trait will heal you, which is great. but so will the Undercurrents. The Undercurrent can get the Vanguard Origin trait that gives you a small amount of health when you get a kill, but we are talking about a Waveframe Grenade Launcher with Volt Shot, so you are getting tons of kills with every shot. Guys, look in the background gameplay. Look at how big of a chunk of health I actually get for shooting the Undercurrent. It's pretty insane when it comes to healing you. So that's another area where both of these weapons frankly shine. So at the end of the day, like, man, it's close. It is incredibly close between these weapons. I think, you know, what weapon is going to be better is going to depend on the scenario and in the activity that you're in. But absolutely, I think the Undercurrent is worth going for. And for goodness sakes, if you don't have access to the Forbearance, if you don't have a crafted Forbearance, then the Undercurrent is like a must get, because it is right up there with the Forbearance, worse in some places, better in other places. Like, I think they're so neck and neck. So again, if you do have access to the Undercurrent and not the Forbearance, it's going to be one of the best PvE weapons in your arsenal, period, going forward. It's insane. So absolutely, guys, get in those Grandmasters, try to get an Undercurrent God roll. Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.